Hey guys, this is an update on my competition at the Nationals for 2016. That happened yesterday. For the prejudging, we were originally supposed to be meeting at 3 and go on at around 5 or 6, but they pushed us back to have a meeting at 5, and then they just ended up calling our class at 11:30 at night. And that basically meant that we were dehydrated for 20 hours or so, 21. So by the end of it, we were just exhausted and dehydrated, really hungry, most of us, because we didn't prep all our food, or some of the food. And basically I was just eating rice cakes and almond butter most of the day, which got pretty gross if you don't have much water to drink with it. Then we just had to do our hair and tan all over again several times while we were there pumping up. And overall, just an exhausting process. And because once you do have your tan on and you go on and you get your tan retouched, you can't really sit down. So at that point, you're like, okay, so what do I do? You're just standing there, and from that, kind of the water flushes into your legs and you start losing definition in your legs from standing so much, and you really can't lay down, and they won't let you lay down because everything is dirty, and you can't even sit pretty much because then you have big stains on your butt. So I got retouched and glazed twice because my tan kept on running because the temperature in the room was so hot and there were so many girls, and that was pretty exhausting as a whole process, but it was fun. Everyone was much nicer than usual. Girls are usually pretty catty, and they were pretty decent backstage. We were all pumping up, and the girls were, it was a rather friendly atmosphere. There were about 20-something people in my class, which was class F, and they shoved everyone 5'7.25" and up to 6 foot, whatever, sky's the limit, into our class. And usually 5'7" goes with the E class, but this time it was together with the F class girls, so that was weird for kind of all of us, besides the fact that we were going on so late at night. I think that the classic men's physique was supposed to go on Saturday for the prejudging, but they pushed the poor guys forward, so I think their prep was a little awkward, if they were planning on like extra carb up days, or if they were going to be water loading or dehydrating in a certain way, then I think that those plans got pretty messed up for the guys, and I heard a couple of them were really upset because usually people that have won shows before or have done really well didn't do well at all this time. So that brings us to when we did eventually get on stage at 11:30. We were basically just given 8 seconds to do our routine, which means I had to modify my routine that I originally planned, so I kind of had to like rework the whole plan really quickly in my head while we're standing in line backstage, because basically they said like once you walk up and you turn around to do your back pose, they already are going to be calling the next girl. And what happened to me is that the girl in front of me was doing her back pose. They called me and they basically kind of shoved me up to her. She was still doing her back pose, then she wanted to do her front routine, and she did not stick to the 8-second rule. So I was standing between the usher or the caller on stage and between that girl, sort of awkwardly, so I decided to just pose while I was waiting for her. And so she finished, and then only then I could walk up. So I couldn't do my, what they call the model walk. I couldn't do my model walk all the way up there. And then I had to modify my routine, and by the time I already did my back pose, I had to hit 2 more front poses in like literally 2 seconds or maybe 1 second, which is pretty fast if you're trying to squeeze all your muscles and take your time and look presentable on stage, because bikini is about being glamorous, and it's about being kind of like sexy, and you can't be sexy in 8 seconds. Or neither I can't. Or you can't be glamorous because you have to take your time with the posing, with the smiling, You can't just be like hurried and quick. So I felt like the whole experience was really cut short, and I know it was 11:30 at night. But it really wasn't our fault, was it, that we were shoved, after the classic men's physique, and then we only were given 8 seconds? Because originally, even in the rules, it says 10 seconds. Then if you cut that down to 8 because, you know, the judges are tired, well, you know what, so are we. Not only are we tired, we're also dehydrated, and judges weren't. So my thinking is that, you know, you should give us the time on stage for paying that much money to basically wait for you. So aside from that, I really did enjoy the experience. For most of it, I do like competing. I felt like it was a little bit wrong for them to. I feel like the NPC really doesn't know what to do with taller girls because it is like an awkward class where you get shoved with, you know, the 5'7" and 5'8" physiques, which are completely different. Because once you hit 5'9", I believe, and 5'10", 5'11", body proportions are completely different. The way that people are built are completely going to be different. And they're going to be completely different from a 5'7" or 5'8" person, which, you know, has like only a couple more inches than, you know, say the winning physique, which is 5'6" or 5'7". So I feel like if you get shoved more, you know, with a different class, those girls are incredibly tall. Like you could have all your height from your legs, you could have all your height from your torso, from your neck. I've seen like giraffes, you know, walking the stage, and you do have a very long disproportionate neck, but how can you put them next to a 5'7.5" person, already call it the same class, just because you don't want to make one extra class for all the other girls? Or is it because there are not too many tall girls and they don't want to like bother, you know, they want to like beef up the class, so, you know, they're just kind of like shove everyone in there, so they, you know, that's why they changed the rules this time. Because I was sitting in a dressing room with a girl, and she usually competes in E, and which is one class below me, and she's 5'7.25", and she was measured as that, you know, this time, and she got shoved into F because they were trying to beef up the class more to have more people in it. Because this time we had like 24, 25 people, and I guess if they didn't put the 5'7" people in there, there would be like only like 10 or 15 of us, which actually would be, I mean, pretty good, because then you'll be charging the same physiques, and the way that people are built, it would be the same versus, you know, having a 5'7" person with completely different muscular structure, completely different bone structure too, because you have, you know, different bone dimensions when you grow to 5'10" or 5'11" or 6 foot versus for someone who's a 5'7", and, you know, they have smaller bones and just completely different bodies. So that was really weird, that I thought that, you know, could have been done a little bit better, you know, as far as anything. Also felt like the tanning was actually very good in the way they did it. Our company was Pro-Tan, and they did accommodate everyone, but I felt like they were just so like flooded with people, and girls were so incredibly bitchy that it was just like hard to focus around everyone. And you know, they kept on running up with like their tanning problems, and at some point like the Pro-Tan people just started being rude, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I was like, are you going to be rude to me? Because I paid like $150 to get my tan done. I was like, you might as well smile and don't treat us like cattle, because at some point they started kind of like, you know, being very brash with you, and they'd be like, you know, what are you doing here? Like, blah, blah, blah. Just started talking to you kind of weird, like, oh, you're making us late, or, you know, like, it never felt like we were doing them a favor, even though I know they're tired, but it is their job. So, and we do pay money for it. So as a customer, I thought that was a little bit weird. So last year I did the USA, and basically there was a guy standing there and tanning girls, and the girls are completely naked, you know, when you tan. There really isn't much ways to cover up. So what happened is that he was just, I mean, basically you have to like bend over right in front of him. And I asked not to be, you know, tanned by a guy, but they did let a guy in there. And they were just like men that work for the company, just randomly walking around as the girls are completely naked, you know, running in front of them. And I just felt like, I felt like if you're a girl and you're already getting tanned there and you prefer not to have the men there or look at you for a certain specific reason, being it modesty or just, you know, I mean, modesty would be a good one. yeah, if you just don't want men looking at you, or if you're like in a committed relationship, or you just feel awkward, I feel like you're not given a choice because you're already standing there and naked, and you don't have a choice where a guy already walks in and he looks like he's a representative of the company and he's looking at everyone's like a free for all show. I mean, I was in a tent, so I was okay because I was just looking at them there until the left, but I was just like they were just completely inspecting all the girls, and the girls were kind of like having to deal with it, and no one kind of said anything because the girls were just like, oh, that's the way it's got to be, and it's okay that they're going to be looking at my body that way. And I was thinking like, no, no, it's not okay. If you don't have to have a guy looking at you, because Protan was completely different this time. Protan, there were no men there. They actually waited until like they didn't mix any genders. There were no different genders in the rooms at all. Even the women checking you in, they were just women. They were getting money. There were no one backstage. There were no guys glazing you. No one was, shoving their hands in your bikini, trying to apply a bikini by being a guy, which would be awkward because they have to do the front and the back, especially for the bikini bottoms. So, I felt like that's like a really awkward part of the process where the girls kind of have to put up with, you know, um, the nakedness and kind of like being treated like a thing. So.